Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday, October the 9th, 2019, and welcome back to Mr. Video Game Live Super Show, brought to you by Dead Sun Entertainment. Everybody clap your hands, say yeah, woo, we're back again. How's it going, everybody?
Yo.
I'm, of course, Slacker Kite. We're coming to you today because Monday we had issues. However, it's good that we had issues on Monday because literally every piece of news happened yesterday and today, so we're excited to talk about it. And, of course, we have coming back again with us. He was saying hashtag boycott Blizzard before it was cool. It's Brian, a.k.a. Wonderboy.
Fucking bad Travis, throw me under the bus right before I even get into like where I was on assignment. Anyway, anywho, welcome. I am back. I will go ahead and tell y'all right now. I listened to last week's show, and I think Peter filled in very well for me. I am sad that he did not. That he was sad that I was gone, but it's okay. Because I was there in spirit. Also, I was on a hellish travel day whenever y'all were recording that. So I'm very glad that he could step in for me. Because Jesus Christ. Okay, let me just put it this way. Never fly from Charlotte to Portland non-stop if you don't get to choose your own fucking seat. God damn it, American Airlines. Eat the fattest part of my ass right now.
What sort of people they sit you by?
Oh no, it was fine. The people they sat me by. It was more so just like I had nowhere to move. I am lucky I had my Switch with me, so I could just play like 6 hours of Fire Emblem on that flight back. But like literally, it was the only flight that I was not allowed to choose my seat on. Or I didn't have the option of choosing my seat on, and it was the only flight that I wanted to choose my seat on. I would have gladly paid the extra $15 for you to let me sit on an aisle for the longest flight of my trip. You fucking assholes. American Airlines. Anyway, what's up? Who's ready to talk video games? I'm sure nothing happened this week.
No, nothing terribly excited.
Nothing ate up the last 2 days of my life. Trying to stay on top of. Alright, anywho, I'll shut up now. I'm back. Thank you, Peter, in the chat. I am very welcome to be back myself.
Alright, and of course, also joining us at this point, she's the only one to not leak people's data. It's Lindsay, aka Lady Marilyn!
What up?
You did your intro and I look over at Playwatch and he's just fucking dying.
My pain is your entertainment. It's okay.
We love you.
Also, I'm able to refuel myself here because I'm watching like the AEW show via GIFs as we speak because I have my Twitter feed up, and you know me, big wrestle boy.
Of course.
We're so happy you're back, though, man.
Oh, I am very happy to be back.
Do you guys want to talk about anything before we start, or should we just jump right into it?
Well, I mean, we can.
Sorry, Travis, you got me to play Untitled Goose Game, and
oh, you played it.
You son of a bitch. That was probably the most fun I've had on a stream in my life. I have not giggled that hard the entire time before.
So, you got a nice chance to play a little bit of the Goosey Time. What you think of it?
Oh my god, it is the best game ever. like game of the year, game of the century. This is it. This is the pinnacle of gaming right here.
This is the end of gaming right here, with the goofs and the things.
I mean, I got to play as one of the national symbols of my country,
Mm.
and I got to be an absolute dick. And it's funny because, like, I watched the Jacksepticeye playthrough and had to bite my tongue from screaming "Hyonk Hyonk and Goose" the entire freaking time.
Mhm.
But it showed me that you can very quickly build your own narrative of this game. And it gets even more ridiculous when you do.
What got me is, like, I've had just my relatively normal friends message me, and here's a direct quote. This is going to sound crazy, but I just watched a YouTube ad for the weirdest game I've ever seen, and it's so good I'm downloading it right now. Untitled Goose Game. Not kidding you, that's the name of it. Apparently it's for the Switch. Just...
Meanwhile, you're sitting here and there, played that. What took you so long, bro?
Good times. Brian, you want to talk about anything, or?
Well, yeah, I guess I can. In terms of what I've been playing, outside of Goose Game and Fire Emblem, I did hop back into Apex Legends for the start of Season 3. It's definitely more Apex Legends, although they did introduce a new map this go around. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, basically the whole idea is that there was like this chemical accident and it caused this giant, like, these weird like weather biomes to happen. There's like a very large frozen section wherever the ground's like covered in snow, and then you have another other patches where the lava's coming through the ground. I think the name of the season is Meltdown, so it's just basically like kind of playing off of that sort of thing. There's a lot more verticality in the new map, which is awesome for snipers and awesome for long range shooters, i.e. not me. I'm much more of a run and gun, slide around, hit you from below type guy in that game. But I'm liking the new map so far. They did introduce vaults with this map. Basically, whenever you land, there are like these little spheres that are flying over certain areas, and if you shoot them down, you get a key to open up a vault, which holds some pretty high-powered loot. So it's just another, like, other little things here and there to kind of mix up things. And then I don't know how familiar y'all are with Apex itself, but remember on the first level you have the supply ship that's flying around whenever you launch out that you can land on? In this new map, the supply ship's gone. It's just a train. There's a train that goes around the level, and it's constantly going. So you can like either land on it or you can like jump onto it at some other point, and on the map. Or in my case, you can get hit by it and die, and have the train pull you all around the level to where your teammates can't grab your beacon and revive you. So, so yeah, you can do that. But no, it's a fun new map. It's not terribly different from Kings Canyon, but I hope that eventually they do put in the ability to select between the two maps. Right now, you can only play on the new map. I think it's called World's End is the new map. So, but I'm digging it so far. Like I played probably like 10 games today. I already have 2 wins, which is really weird for me in Apex because I'm not usually that good. But for some reason, I was just on it today. I'm like, I haven't picked it up in a couple months. And like it was like riding a bike in a lot of ways. So that game is so well crafted, shooting wise. And speaking of well crafted shooters, I guess we should talk about where I was at last week.
Oh yeah.
So I was on assignment at the Overwatch League Grand Finals.
Mm-hmm.
I was there live in Philadelphia to watch the event. And I have to say, Blizzard Esports, I know we're about to get into a thing with them, with some stuff that happened in the past 2 days, but they know how to put on an event. This, aside from the actual match, because the match, like, it was not that competitive. The San Francisco Shock, basically, they won the championship, defeating the Vancouver Titans 4-0. They swept them on maps. There were a few moments there where it looked like things were going to be a little bit tighter, but really it was just the most like competitive sweep I've seen in a while. And in that way, that was really the only detriment to the event, though. Like, I was hoping for a more competitive match, but at the end of the day, like all of the celebratory stuff, the event itself, you know, they did a whole lot of improvements based off of last year's grand finals in terms of presentation. They aired live on ABC for the first time this year. Also, like, they're definitely getting their foothold with mainstream media markets. And you know, in arena, like the live event itself was like, it was packed. Like, they sold out the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. Yeah, like we're talking like upwards of 14 to 15,000 people in that building watching this go down. And just like the setup was just outstanding. Like, I know like a lot of the people I was talking to there, both journalists and some of the PR people, were just like, you're going to be stunned whenever you walk into this arena. And like, they were right. Like, the screens were like, the stage setup and the screens were huge. Like, it felt like a big time traditional sporting event in a lot of ways. You know, like they even like they got rid of the DJ Khaled like stuff from last year and brought in Zed, who is actually more contemporary to the people, to the age groups that are watching Overwatch League. So like, that was a very smart move, as opposed to having the DJ Khaled who has no clue what the hell he's there to do. He has no clue what Overwatch is, but he's still gonna go up there and like try and get a chant started because that's all he knows how to do. But like everything around it was really rad. Like, I really liked the press conferences afterwards also, because like, you could tell like the personalities of the teams coming out in a lot of ways. Like Sinatra and Super for San Francisco, those two guys, like, if they weren't already major superstars, which I mean, Sinatra was the MVP of the league this year. Like, of course he's already is, but like, those two guys submitted themselves as like giants of this league in that matchup. So like, it was just really rad. It made me excited to see what comes in season 3 whenever because their season 3, they're moving to home and away style stuff. They're going to be a lot more home stands. They're redividing the divisions between regions, so it's easier for teams to travel back and forth. So not every week is going to be at the Blizzard Arena. The majority of weeks are going to be outside the Blizzard Arena in LA. So like, the league is steadily growing, and it seems to be in a good place. As compared to like some of the stuff that we're about to get into. But you know, overall fun experience, awesome event. I wrote up a thing for Pace Magazine. If you want to go check that out, pacemagazine.com/games. It should be right there on the front page. Yeah, it was rad. And I'm still hoping to I hope that opens up channels to talk to them about other stuff too. I know I've been, you know, one of the main reasons why I went out there was to talk to them about their diversity initiatives and stuff like that. And I think that, you know, that's a very important thing, especially considering what we're about to get into.
Yeah.
And so I really want to highlight that before we get into this other stuff, because like, Overwatch League has done a lot this year to curtail a lot of the sins of the first season. That being said, though, let's get critical.
All right, let's jump into the news now.
Yeah.
I want you to first understand that we talk about video games, so we're probably not going to dive much in the news, but obviously we're kind of usually pretty good with protesters here, but don't listen to us. Get your news from news people who know news. We're talking entertainment here, but... Okay, so, if you follow news at all, you probably know about the situation going on in Hong Kong. Well, one of the pro Hearthstone streamers, I am probably going to mispronounce it, Blitzchung?
Yeah, Blitzchung.
Blitzchung, alright. So in the middle of a broadcast, and I might as well just bring up this video. Mute, please, thank you. Anyway, in the middle of this, the two broadcasters duck down, and he makes his statement. Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age, and they very quickly cut to commercial.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the start of the whole thing, and you know, it's kind of tongue-in-cheeky, and the guy is wearing a face mask that's been banned in Hong Kong. Following that, Blitzchung gets banned for a year from any Blizzard activities because of their competition rules, and all of his awards and winnings have been nullified. He is no longer winning any of the money.
No, they basically ripped away $10,000 he had already won during the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
This is kind of bullshit. It really is. But I mean, I kind of understand. Like, it might not be the ideal platform. But at the same time, what the fuck, Blizz?
Well, we saw similar things with the NBA, one of the owners of the Rockets, I believe.
It was the general manager of the Rockets.
General manager of the Rockets, excuse me.
It's okay.
Made a tweet in regards to this and very quickly deleted it, and has been backpedaling for days now, so...
well, he hasn't necessarily been backpedaling. He just hasn't made comment after that. He hasn't apologized. He doesn't feel he should have to apologize.
Correct.
His employer does, in that the owner of the Houston Rockets, Tillman Fertitta, of former owner of the UFC fame, he wants Morey to apologize. Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, has come out and said that that Morey does not need to apologize, and he's standing firm against China's statements, basically saying they want them to kowtow to them.
Yeah. So they're not the only people who have come into the news because of this, but overarchingly it's been larger because, at least with the NBA, there's been a discussion in that field. Meanwhile, Blizzard just kind of made the statement and went fucking silent afterwards. They literally just pointed to their statement of engaging in any act in Blizzard's sole discretion brings you into public disrepute, offends a portion or group of the public, or otherwise damages Blizzard image will result in a removal from Grandmasters and reduction of the player's prize total to $0 USD.
Oh, God, okay. Look, I get that they put this clause in his contract and that he signed the contract. Why? The fact that this kind of clausing is even in, or this kind of like verbiage is in the contract to begin with, one, it speaks to a major issue in the esports realm where like a lot of players don't necessarily have a lot of control over the contractual negotiations, and they don't have a lot of power in those either. A lot of the measures are set up by the publishers and the game developers and the people that are contracted to run these leagues, and they tend to not be very player friendly in these instances, especially whenever you get into a line that is so wide open in terms of this clause, like basically saying that Blizzard can determine if you say something that offends any portion of the public. How large is a portion? Like it's so widespread that they could potentially use this clause to against anything, much less this, like much less something as serious as this, you know. And also, before we go into, I know there's a whole bunch of other stuff to unpack here, but like a lot of people are saying, even the people that are in support of Blitzchung have come out and said, like, of course, like I don't necessarily want video games to be political. I don't want esports to have people to bring politics into esports. As soon as you put a clause like this into a contract, you're making things political.
Right, and this is one of the interesting things I've seen. Regardless of people's like, oh my god, don't put politics into video games, the the backlash over it has kind of been across the board, and you know, without any malice, or you know, this has been one of those things that, regardless of your side, you seem to be against.
Yeah, it's one of the few things I've actually seen like unite a very divided country.
Yeah, it's been kind of interesting seeing like exactly how unifying this whole thing has been, because I mean, I spent some time browsing the Blizzard forums, and I didn't really see anything in support of Blizzard. Like, just about everything on there was in support of Blitzchung. And
No, I mean,
that was really, really interesting to see.
Well, I mean, you're talking about like Blizzard had to make their subreddit private for an amount of time after this whole thing blew up, because literally they were just the subreddit was being bombarded with pro Blitzchung messaging. And now that the subreddit has been restored to public status, like it's still, the whole entire front page is just like, here's a picture of May like with the Hong Kong flower on it. Like here's a picture of like people putting like actual blizzards up on the front page, saying like, well, this sub is about actual blizzards now because we don't want to talk about the bad blizzard. You know, like, and it's just like different things like that. It's still dominated by conversation around Blitzchung. And the fact that people are very, very upset with Blizzard for clearly siding with China over a player's right to free speech.
Yeah, and the backlash has been basically across the board. The Hearthstone championship match, one of them ended with the call to free Hong Kong, boycott Blizz, in regards to this during a broadcast on the American Collegiate Hearthstone Championship.
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing messages like this pop up. Like this happened. You saw there was a caster, a Hearthstone caster. I think his name was Brian. Let me find his name real quick. Sorry, I'm all over the place here. Brian Kibler released a statement today through BMK Gaming, basically saying that he is no longer going to cast Hearthstone. He does not want to work with Blizzard until like everything, like until he feels that he is alongside them in terms of the politics of the situation. I saw one of the heads on the original World of Warcraft, Mark Kern, came out in support of the boycott Blizzard movement on Twitter also. Let's see, like, where's this? Okay, I have this quote here. This hurts, but until Blizzard reverses their decision on Blitzchung, I am giving up playing Classic WoW, which I helped make and helped convince Blizzard to relaunch. There will be no Mark of Kern Guild after all. And then he goes into a long thing because he is of Chinese ethnicity, and he goes on to like basically detail out how the Chinese government subsidizes the game industry there, and how they also squeeze out people who voice dissident opinions towards the Communist Party there, including Kern himself. So like, there's definitely like this is a huge political issue, and you know we're seeing ripples throughout not just the gaming industry. You know, like I saw Marco Rubio retweeted the report from Slasher originally whenever we first saw the statement on the Hearthstone forum, on the Hearthstone news site come out. You know, like Marco Rubio is retweeting an esports journalist. I never thought I would say that. You know, like this is spreading very, very wide, even into the halls of Blizzard, because you know there have been reports of people within Blizzard being very upset about this. There have been silent protests. People have they're apparently on the grounds in the courtyard. There are 2 plaques. One that reads I need to get this one exactly right, or you might have it there actually.
Yeah, we're talking about think globally.
Yes. Yes. Think globally, every voice matters. And someone, as you can see on the stream here, an employee went out to the courtyard and taped over those plaques because as a form of protest against what's happening here. Not only that, a number of employees walked out into the courtyard and kind of gathered around the statue of an orc that's in the middle of the courtyard, right where all of the executives could see them. I think it was a group that kind of fluctuated between 12 to 30 people, according to reports from US Gamer. Shout out Eric Van Allen, awesome work out there. So like, this is causing a lot of unrest in every realm that you can think of when it comes to politics, gaming, just the general public in a lot of ways. I've seen people that I did not even think cover or like looked at video games talking about this at points.
Yeah, the orc statue is the same one with the every voice matters that they're standing around. It's a little circle around the orc.
Yeah. So like we said, that the people of Hong Kong and a bunch of people in support of Hong Kong have co-opted May as like the de facto mascot for the Hong Kong boycotts now in a lot of ways. As a form of protest. I realize I'm just sending you through all these links in rapid fire, Travis. I apologize.
No worries.
Yeah, like there's been a lot of unrest based off of this, and the only thing that Blizzard has stated in the past 48 hours since then is they said that they are, I believe the quote was, "We are assessing the situation." They said that a spokesperson for Blizzard said that earlier today. That they are assessing the situation. So that could mean anything, obviously.
Yeah, the whole thing with May is that they're hoping to get Overwatch banned in China by associating May with pro-Hong Kong democracy. So if you can do the same thing that they did with Winnie the Pooh, getting that banned in China, might be a little bit of a deficit to them.
Yeah. Excuse me. All this talking is making my throat go blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to find. There's another thing that was really cool. Actually, another game piped up and said that they would offer to repay Blitzchung's winnings, and also invited him to participate in their $500,000 tournament. It was another digital card game. If I find it, I'll let you know. But like, there are other people within the gaming sphere that are reaching out about this also. And then, of course, I just saw it fly by on the screen. You had Epic weigh in because a lot of the criticism around Blizzard's, like, apparent, I guess for lack of a better term, kowtowing to the Chinese government and these things is because Tencent does have a 5% stake in Activision Blizzard. Meanwhile, Epic, who Tencent has a much larger percentage stake in, came out today and said that they would not silence any of their esports players from being able to express their own political views or their own free speech, and which is interesting because, like I said before, Tencent owns like 40% of Epic, as opposed to 5% that Tencent has in Activision Blizzard. And then the article came out, and then Tim Sweeney himself doubled down on Twitter afterwards, saying, what was it? Basically saying that Epic supports the rights of Fortnite players and creators to speak about politics and human rights. And then he was questioned about the Tencent connection, and whether and he said basically Epic is a U.S. company and I'm the controlling shareholder. Tencent is an approximately 40% shareholder, and there are many other shareholders, including employees and investors. Yes, absolutely, that will never happen on my watch as the founder, CEO, and controlling shareholder.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing to me for Epic to come out and say this. It's kind of well, nobody really asked you. I understand why, because all the people coming out and going, well, what about your stake with Tencent? Doesn't really matter as much as the people seem to think it does.
I mean, in this way, it doesn't. You know, like I imagine. I hope that Tim Sweeney holds to this, and for all intents and purposes, I mean, the dude hasn't really been that easy to sway on some things. But you know, like I think honestly for them, this was an opportunity to get out in front of things in a lot of ways, because of course, if the Tencent connection is being made to Activision Blizzard, that connection is going to be made to any other organization that that has ties to Tencent and tries to have a big money presence in esports, like Fortnite is trying to have right now. So it makes total sense why he would comment in that way.
Yeah, from everything I've seen from Tencent, they don't care about politics, they care about money.
Well, they do care about politics in some ways, because I mean, they do care about money, definitely. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're basically the Amazon of China. They care about money. But like the fact that they are willing to cancel the NBA preseason games that were going to happen over there, they haven't canceled the game yet, to my knowledge. They canceled a bunch of charity events that the NBA was going to do in Shanghai ahead of the game so far, and there's definitely been threats about the game being canceled. Especially after Adam Silver basically doubled down saying he wasn't going to make Daryl Morey apologize. So Tencent clearly does care about the things that the people that they are associated with say and do.
Correct.
They see these things as undermining the Communist Party, especially as Hong Kong continues their protests and continues the push for, honestly, it's not the entire protesting force that's pushing for this, but there's a sizable amount of people within that movement that are pushing for the liberation of Hong Kong to become a separate state. And this isn't the only way that Blizzard has been that Blizzard can be criticized for basically, I guess, compromising the free speech, or the compromising language when it comes to their relationship with China. We all know the very strained relationship between China and Taiwan, which oddly enough, the broadcast we're talking about was a Taiwanese broadcast, not even a Chinese broadcast, where this happened. But you know, China still views Taiwan as part of China. They call it Chinese Taipei. Taiwan, they recognize themselves as a independent country, call themselves Taiwan. Whenever you are watching Blizzard, I think there was one. I can't remember if it was Overwatch or it was a different one. Anyway, Blizzard basically calls Taiwan Chinese Taipei in some of their broadcasting, especially in China. They don't go with the more widely accepted messaging outside of China for the countries. So it's not in all instances, but it is in some instances, and it's still troubling in that way. But I don't know. There's so much with this to dig into, and it's not over, and it's not going to be over for at least a few more days. So we'll just have to watch and wait and see.
Yeah, this is going to be something really interesting to keep an eye on the coming weeks and months, especially with the lead up to BlizzCon this year. I don't know if it's going to affect their attendance, or if people are literally just saying, yeah, we're going to boycott Blizz, and then, still support them hand over fist. So
yeah,
it'll be really interesting to see where people's loyalties actually lie in all of this, to see how everything ends up resolving. Because if Blizz is saying that they're looking into this, I mean, there's no guarantee that they actually are.
Yeah, I am interested to see, by this time next week where Blizzard comes out on this whole thing, but there's been a whole lot of people that are very active in Blizzard items that have dropped out and stopped with Blizzard. I mean, we've covered at least a few of them with casters that have decided to completely step out of the quadrant. So, if they don't take care of this huge backlash now, this is going to take care of them in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a part of that boycott movement has been a lot of people, oddly like uninstalling their games, deleting their games that they've already purchased. A lot of people have been asking for refunds on their WoW subscriptions, and uninstalling the game after that. A lot of Hearthstone players have said that they're leaving also. So like it's, I don't know how large that number is at this point, but there is a very vocal part of this boycott Blizzard movement that is at least reporting to the world that they are trying to rid themselves of Blizzard products, even the ones that they've already purchased. So it's more of a symbolic movement in a lot of ways, but still, it's a movement. And BlizzCon, like I have seen a lot of people say that they are going to boycott BlizzCon. That's still over a month away, or actually no, less than a month away. Sorry, it's less than a month away. So we'll see if as things die down, if that really stays the way it is. Honestly, a lot of that hinges on what Blizzard has to say in the coming days. And anything else that might happen around this situation. So we'll see. It's a very, very developing story.
I mean, really, there is no precedent for this. Like, we haven't really seen a company step this far over the line in recent years, and it's going to be really interesting to see.
But of course, there is other news, and we'll get back to that next week as we get more developments from what exactly happens with the fallout from this. But moving on into other video games, because there's a whole world outside of it, Red Dead Redemption 2 is finally coming to PC, which has people very excited around the communities, especially, the people without the console.
To pull a direct quote from Playwatch when I showed him the news, no, you've got to be fucking kidding me. It's about fucking time.
Yeah, I mean, I am not the biggest Red Dead Redemption fan, but the number of friends that I've had that have been really excited about this, and especially, I mean, I understand there's a whole, hey, you want to get your mouse and keyboard on because this is a game about shooting, and that's the way that a lot of people want to do their shooting. Gotcha. Feel it. So it's coming, it's going to happen. Breathe. We're all good here?
I mean, when has Rockstar ever rushed to get something done?
Yeah.
I mean, even though they're constantly crunching,
Mm-hmm.
when have they ever rushed to get something done?
Yeah, with Rockstar, it's done when it's done, and that's worked well for them. Especially, like, think about when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, and they had said, oh, we'll do multiplayer, and everyone was like, oh, yeah, sure, you'll do multiplayer, and then 2 years after release, they put out multiplayer, and it's the biggest thing that has ever hit.
Playwatch makes a good point. The casino was out pretty quick, but money. Multiplayer didn't make them money.
I would disagree with that. The casino, as far as like the building, and they had it like they had wanted a casino basically from moment one. It had been there. It just had not been ready, so they did take their time to roll it out. But when they rolled it out, it was dropped. Speaking of dropping, moving into Doom Eternal has been delayed to March of 2020, much to the chagrin of everyone, and especially people who live in a household with somebody that wants Animal Crossing on the same day that this comes out now.
Who's gonna win that TV battle? Well, I guess one of y'all can play this on the Switch, or play the other game on the Switch.
Yeah, I think Joan is going to end up winning because Animal Crossing is her game. It's the only game that she cares about. You've heard her for the last 2 years screaming about wanting Animal Crossing. I'm not standing in her way. Are you standing in her way? Because I'm sure as hell not.
Well, I'm not in her way to stand, so that's a very easy decision for me to make.
I'm within standing distance, even I won't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, maybe with a 20-foot pole and chocolate, but...
No, like, this necessarily doesn't surprise me. What surprises me more is the fact that their invasion mode is going to be delayed even after the launch.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's a little bit frustrating in some ways.
As well as the Switch release.
That doesn't surprise me at all. I honestly, I didn't think that it was going to be, like, I know they have been, like, talking about the Switch being day and date with the rest of the console releases, but, like, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Now, I've got a question about Invasion Mode, and I can't remember if it was addressed when they announced it at E3. Can you turn that option off? Because, I mean, like, I am a fairly new player when it comes to the rebuild of Doom. I grew up with Doom 2, and haven't really touched any of the new one. So, I mean, I don't, as I'm fumbling and flailing and panicked squeaking my way through this game, I don't want a seasoned player coming in and fucking up my day.
I haven't seen it confirmed anywhere, but I'm pretty sure that you can turn it off. I'll do a real quick search here and see while we're talking about this.
Of course.
I mean, the only other thing I can think of doing is, like, turning off my Wi-Fi. Essentially throwing my computer into airplane mode.
Of course, there is the positive as well. If you pre-order it, you can get Doom 64, which I know everyone is dying for their copy of Doom 64.
Dude.
Yo, you shit right now, but, like, I am honestly, like, thinking about pre-ordering this game just so I can play Doom 64 again.
I actually, if we're going into the 64s, I still have my cartridge for Quake 64.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright, so I'm not seeing anything where it's confirming that you can turn it off, but I'm pretty sure that since they keep saying that players can invade, I'm pretty sure that you can choose to toggle that on.
I hope so, because I don't want that shit in my game. Fuck off.
Yeah, I think it's the smart move to not make that always on.
Because, like, then you'd be alienating a huge chunk of your player base of, like, people who are just getting into it, who may be shaky with for FPSs, who, you know, just kind of want to see what they can do without somebody wrecking them. If I wanted that, I'd go PvP, or I'd play Fortnite.
There you go.
Yes, okay, you can turn that setting off.
Hell yeah.
Woohoo!
Confirmed. Okay.
Alright. And in the final of the new game talking about, we have a game called Enchanted Portals, which has gotten huge amounts of backlash. It hasn't released its Kickstarter yet, but it has released the video for the Kickstarter, and from what the devs have said, they didn't expect a lot of people to really notice their game. And at first you look at it and it's kind of cutesy, kind of plain looking at first, animating thing about wizards, and then you get into it, and it's Cuphead. It's Cuphead. This game is Cuphead. We don't have the music on, so you can't hear the loud jazz score that goes along with it, playing classical and all that good stuff. This is Cuphead.
How did I miss this?
Just,
I mean, obviously because they've already said they didn't expect anybody to notice, but dude.
what really gets me is this is a lot of work. These are very carefully handcrafted backgrounds. There's really interesting animation. The music is that we're not hearing, but the music is phenomenal.
Can I also give like special mention to that cybernetic cow? That was kind of awesome.
Very much so.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cute looking things in this, and I'm kind of interested actually. But like, why did you make your game so obviously Cuphead? For a game...
Oh my God. Cerberus with a chihuahua, a pug, and a corgi. I want one in real life.
Yeah, and clearly if they're doing a Kickstarter, they don't have everything ready yet, so, you know, we can't base all of the animations, so maybe the animations will get better, but what I've seen so far is pretty good if we're talking like a $20 value game. But why the blatant Cuphead? I'm so lost. Of course people are going to be mean to you on Twitter because of that, but yeah, we'll see. Speaking of the continuation of weird...
Well, real quick, it should be noted that the developers of the game, like, they cite Cuphead as a major influence. So, and let's be real, video games can be very derivative as a medium. So it makes total sense that someone would look at Cuphead and try and replicate some of the things for that game based off of its level of success. I'm not saying that like blatantly copying that game like down to the point where like even the projectiles look the same is the right thing to do, but like there is like the game does look pretty good on its own. It's just a shame that it does have such a heavy influence from Cuphead to the point where it looks like exactly what you said. I'd be very curious to see what the Cuphead devs have to say about this, and see how they're taking it in stride. Because honestly, like I get fan backlash. The only backlash I really care about is whether the company has anything bad to say about it or not.
With the way the Cuphead devs have handled themselves in the past, with the fact that they released the sheet music for sale at really reasonable pricing and encouraged like school bands to pick it up and play it and perform it, I have a feeling their response is going to be more along the lines of imitation is the finest form of flattery than anything negative.
Yeah, and let's also not forget, Cuphead is derivative from the old 1930s animation styles that it plays off of, including some very racist ones. So like let's be real here. Like as much as Cuphead is a marvel on video game systems, it is derivative of other mediums as well.
Also true.
So yeah. So like honestly, that's why I'm not up in arms about this necessarily. Like yeah, it's really close to it. It's whatever. If Studio MDHR aren't gonna say anything about it, then I mean, I don't know. I don't see why fans are so up in arms about it in a lot of ways.
No, I care with that.
Yeah.
Before we bounce to our next article, can I give a very quick shout out to something that actually dropped this week?
Okay.
That game that I've been in love with and completely addicted with, Armajet. is officially out of early access. They have now had their global launch as of yesterday.
Brad.
Good times.
And it has gotten even more polished. They upgraded their AI for their bots that show up in various matches if you don't have enough players. And it looks even prettier now too.
I am not surprised. Alright.
So yeah.
So on the same vein of weird, we spoke before about the dreadful KFC video game.
I still haven't had a chance to play that. It will happen at some point.
You make your own bed.
Wendy's has put out a free RPG, a free tabletop RPG, very obviously based around Dungeons and Dragons, with a PDF that you can download right now.
Okay. I'm just gonna be up front. I have not read anything in the PDF so far. So please indulge me. What the hell is this?
Well, you can choose to worship baked potatoes or the double stack.
Oh my god. Okay.
You've got abilities such as strength, intelligence, charm, grace, and arcana. So, you know, basically your D&D stats are all here. And it comes with a pre-written campaign where you fight an evil jester hell-bent on spreading a scourge of frozen beef across the realm of Beef's Keep.
God damn it. Get fucked, Wendy's!
I don't know. I mean, the fantastic cast of Critical Role actually played this last week during their usual stream. They ran it as a one-shot with the ever-amazing Sam Riegel as a DM. And from what I understand, it was freaking amazing. But, I mean, pretty much anything those guys touch turns to gold. But I'm seriously tempted to grab this. It looks like it's based on 5e, so it's going to be stupidly easy for anybody to pick up and play. I mean, that is probably the least threatening form of D&D to get into. It's like the gateway drug. I'm curious. I'm very I'm actually downloading it right now.
I've genuinely heard nothing but good things from people so far, so maybe it's good.
The thing with it is, like, as much as I derided the KFC game, and as much as I have been on that Sneak King tip over the past 2 weeks that we've talked about fucking fast food getting into fucking gaming again, all of this boils down to a very frustrating and pandering form of advertising for these companies, and it is so just personally frustrating for me to see in a lot of ways. Like, I understand why they do it. Because, like, you get stories like this written, you know, you get people's attention. You get me to play a fucking dating sim where I like fawn over the fucking colonel. You know? Like, I get why you do these things. You're getting yourself in front of eyeball. But at the end of the day, like, it just leaves a nasty taste in my mouth. And I'm not saying that just because, you know, I haven't eaten a KFC in 3 years. Like, it's just I don't know. It's just frustrating in a lot of ways. It's the same reason, like, corporate Twitter accounts. Like, I'm fairly over a lot of corporate Twitter accounts. As soon as I saw, like, the minute I saw the Sunny D Twitter account start tweeting like it was having a depression episode, fucking done. Fucking get out of here. Like, I get there's a human being on the other side of there running the social media and stuff, but these fucking companies are not, they're not people. They honestly don't have a place in these like promoting these sort of things in this industry in a lot of ways. You know, like they're just basically carving out interactive commercials. That's all these things are. And as someone who like cannot stand like non-interactive commercials, get the fuck out.
I mean, I'm now flipping through this PDF. And I will admit, if you go to the official website, feastoflegends.com, it gives you the chance to download the PDF. You can click new to this and it explains what it is. It has a virtual dice roller, but it also has a button that says Order Wendy's. Now, when you click it, it immediately links to DoorDash.
Great.
Cool.
However, reading through their list of weaponry, they've got the 3 standard things, or 4 standard categories in their weapons that you'd expect. The weapon name, the price, the damage, and the type. And then it has a 5th category of can I throw it?
Okay.
And your most heavy damaging weapon, ranking in at 55 gold pieces to purchase, 3d6 damage. It's a heavy 2-handed cast iron skillet. Can you throw it? Nope.
Why would they even put that in the game whenever no Wendy's in their right mind uses a cast iron fucking skillet?
They've got spoon, knife, straw shot, so you can actually like spitball out of a straw.
God damn it.
Fork, whisk, paring knife, toothpicks, which are apparently graceful weapons that can be thrown 60 feet. The great fork, the spork, spatula, ladle, frying pan, great spoon, great knife, and the cast iron skillet.
Get fucked, Wendy's. Fuck out of here with your Baconator bullshit.
I'm so running this game.
Yeah.
You know what, Brian? Hang on to that anger, because that's going to serve you well for the next one.
Oh, don't worry. I know what's coming.
Heartbeat has been, air quote, vicious air quote, accused of mocking trans suicide. You can read all of this from the developer's girlfriend Nicotine, and it sure is a thing that you can read. And days later, after there was a backlash over her statements, she put Heartbeat up for 35% off the game and 41% off the soundtrack plus game, which corresponds to the Suicide Prevention USLA School of Law Williamson's 2 report for attempted suicide rates. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna step back and let Brian rage on this one.
I'm gonna try and keep this short and sweet because, honestly, I do not like giving TERFs the fucking time of day. More and more you are seeing this sort of verbiage and this sort of messaging come out of queer spaces. Maybe not more and more, but at least the people that are willing to do it are becoming a lot louder now, especially as the TERF movement has empowered a lot of these voices to come to the forefront. It's super frustrating to see this in the gaming sphere, though, because I mean, the video game development sphere has been one that has been one of the, I say, the better places for people of marginalized communities. They've been able to like find a lot of support amongst the community, both within their own like subsects of the community as well as from larger forces within the indie development community. You know, whether it be people of color, LGBTQ, people like this, like there's a lot of support out there for these games that are both accessible to a wider audience, but are specifically noted for including characters that speak to those marginalized communities. And then to have one of the developers who is a fucking lesbian herself come out with this turf bullshit. Because this isn't the only stuff that she said. There was other stuff that popped up on the game's Discord from her, that was very, very turfy. But to say all of that and then to try and assuage things by tying your discount numbers for your game to the like trans suicide statistics, like I get what you're trying to do by trying to like saying like, oh, I'm raising awareness by using these numbers, like, but like at the same time you are basically talking out of both sides of your mouth. You don't honestly give a fuck. You're trying to use these numbers to sell your video game and make money after you've thrown these people under the fucking bus. Like, I'm sorry, there's no coming back from these sort of things, at least not without an actual effort to change the way that you think and the way that you interact with these communities, you know? And it's super frustrating because I know I've seen people who have covered this game, people who worked on this game, that as soon as Nicotine's comments came out, they were like, well, I feel really, really bad about participating in this now. Like there are people that have covered this game who are trans who now feel betrayed by this game because of the way that Nicotine has handled herself in the public. And I do not blame him at all. I mean, honestly, I would even say that people that didn't work on this game, people who came to this game because of the clearly queer messaging within it and the queer characters within it, like I would, like, honestly, if I had booted up this game and played it myself and then saw that happen, I would feel fucking betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trans. I'm a member of the queer community, and I stand in solidarity with the trans community. And to see a queer developer basically like undermine not only the work that community has done to reach equal rights in this country, but in many ways undermine the entire LGBTQ community's fight. Because if you undermine one sect of us, you undermine all of us. Like, that is super frustrating to see, and I'm fucking done with this. I'm tired of it. Like, she has not shown any effort to assuage for what she has said. She has not offered a very convincing apology when it comes to this sort of thing. And honestly, like there's no reason to even try and forgive her, man. Like, take those, like, I don't know if you can come back from using trans suicide statistics to sell your game. I don't know if you can honestly come back from that. That's a fucking large step in the wrong direction.
I think that's a fairly easy agree on that. Yeah, it is worth mentioning that a lot of the people who worked on it did not have any of these feelings and have distanced themselves from the game because of it, so I personally am not going to be mad at anybody who buys Heartbeat, but I really don't think you should.
No, I would, I'm not buying it. I had thought about it at one point, not buying it now. I will say also, she did double down on those turf statements also. I didn't see this in the article at the very end. Hey man, all I did was share an opinion, and tranny, don't want to say that. No, sorry, I wasn't thinking when I read that, and went and tried to fuck with the game just because the lead dev is my girlfriend. She tweeted on Wednesday, she tweeted that, blah, blah. I had no intentions to bring Heartbeat into this, but it looks like they did. No, you brought this in there with your dumb opinions. Like, it's done. Get the fuck out. Like, it's just, no. I will say this as a positive way to end this part of the show. There is currently a live marathon stream happening. I apologize on that. There's a live charity marathon going through the weekend up until National Coming Out Day on October 11th that is being done to benefit Trans Lifeline. A bunch of trans Twitch streamers are linking up and running a marathon from, I think, started yesterday all the way through to the 11th. So if you want to donate to them, they've already raised roughly like just under $15,600 for in just one day, like 1.5 days. So if you wanted to check that out and put your money towards a group that is actually promoting the trans community in a good way within the gaming sphere, you can go to translifeline.org/October-trans-rights and check out those streams, check out those streamers, and if you feel so moved, donate to the movement. Anywho,
cool. An evening out of the rage bait here. Still rage-inducing, but not quite on that level, but still rage-inducing. EA has leaked FIFA Global Series player data, up to 1,600 player information, including emails, IDs, birth dates, country of residence, and console and account names, have been leaked, and are just out there now. So EA is the newest group to have leaked people's data for no good reason. Yay!
Son of a bitch, do we not learn?
Nope. No one ever learns. Let's see. Okay. There is like a lengthy statement here from EA specifically about this. Do we want to read through that?
Sure.
Alright, so at approximately 1 p.m. UK time, we announced the registration portal page for the EA Sports FIFA 20 Global Series. Shortly after, we learned that some players trying to register were seeing the information of other players who had already signed up through the registration page. We immediately took action to shut down the site by 1:30 p.m. UK time. We were able to root cause the issue and implement a fix to be clear that information is protected. We're confident that players will not see the same issue going forward. Okay, so yeah, approximately 1,600 players were potentially affected. Looks like they're reaching out to competitors, stressing player privacy, blah 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 blah. And apparently registration remains closed at the moment. Or no, it's open. It's reopened by now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious to know what happened here, like why the sort of thing. It doesn't seem like the same issues that we've seen with leaks, more recent leaks at least, like where the ESA just simply didn't fucking encrypt the stupid page. Like, I don't think that that's the issue here.
No, this seemed to be just more an issue that a linked page was able to display certain more information, and of course, the internet being the internet, once it's out there, people just kind of, grabbed it and sent it elsewhere.
Oh, of course.
This really worries me because I've seen how passionate and how competitive people can get over FIFA. And so if you were one of those people who signed up for this tournament early, you were one of these 16,000 people that had your info leaked, I'd be afraid of playing in that tournament because the potential for doxing and so many horrible things is so high. And this shit really needs to be addressed to the point that it doesn't happen anymore. Like, you could be playing with people's lives on this.
Yeah, over a video game. At least it doesn't have their actual addresses and stuff like that. I mean, these are things that you could use to scam bait people, sure. Especially the birth dates.
Yeah.
But this could be far worse. Alright. We're going to continue to come down. I'm guiding you through this guided exercise of we were very angry, now we're kind of angry. Let's talk some bullshit from Google. Weirdest fucking statement I think I've heard all week, and that is big for the weirdest fucking statement. Google Stadia has stated that within the next 2 years, they will be implementing negative latency into their systems by predicting what your button press is going to be and prepping the game for what they think you're going to do to send that signal back to you of what they think your press was. I'm a little confused by that.
I'm sorry, what?
Ultimately, we think in a year or two, we'll have games that are running faster and feel more responsive in the cloud than they do locally, Bekar says to Edge, regardless of how powerful the local machine is.
Okay, but if they're going to use whatever tech to try to predict my button presses, try to predict what I'm going to do, could you imagine playing fighting games against AI?
Mm.
You would never win. You would either fall into predictability and it would know what you're going to do before you do it, or you try to be unpredictable and get smacked with lag.
All right, so
this is just really weird.
I want to throw out that games already kind of do this. For instance, when you're playing World of Warcraft, you're not really seeing, especially the other players around you, you're not actually seeing what they're actually doing. You're seeing what the game thinks they're going to do, and adjustments may be made by the game later so that the player does their thing. So, this is kind of something that's already out there, but to a whole devastatingly odd degree, saying that by upping the FPS that the game runs at to reduce latency between the player input and the display, or even predicting user inputs, is... So you're going to predict ahead of time what they're going to do and start displaying that, which, yeah, kind of works in multiplayer games, but, like, yeah, especially, like, with fighting games or other games where it's, you know, kind of a one-to-one movement, where instead of, you know, the load up and the pitch, so to speak, this is a fucking bizarre statement coming out of Stadia.
I heard this is how you get Skynet. Isn't this how you get Skynet?
We're long past Skynet at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these algorithms already exist in a lot of other places, so it's just so odd that they're like that. So, I'm trying to figure out the right words to put this in. Basically, the idea of a predictive algorithm for player choice and player movement is both like one of those like duh moments for me, but also still mind-boggling in a lot of. This is like I just do not understand how you like even try to build out the infrastructure for an algorithm like that, especially whenever you're looking at how diverse of a game library that they're going to be offering. Like, it's just so odd.
Well, building it, like how they build it, that's really simple. Very expensive proprietary technology.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know, recently Google's figured out how to do quantum computing, at least on a particular level, so if anyone's gonna do it, it's Google, I guess. Yeah.
Glad to know they're putting that to good use to help me play Destiny 2 Shadowkeep. Or to predict what I'm going to do in Destiny 2 Shadowkeep. Ooh.
Ooh.
See, I'd be easy to predict. She's gonna take 4 steps and die.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's a moot point for me.
I mean, yeah, you get me playing Mario, I'm going to run straight into the fucking Goombas. What's going to happen? So, yeah. Alright, and the last of the rage bait coming out here.
This is more funny to me.
Yeah, this is slowly going into funny territory. Especially, I love the Register. As an IT dork, the Register is just full of some of the best IT snark that you're going to find out there. And this is great. The architect of Atari's much delayed retro console, the Atari VCS, has quit the project, claiming he hasn't been paid in 6 months.
Yep.
The vaporware Atari VCS, which we'll certainly see when it happens.
Mm-hmm. Which apparently is not going to be March 2020.
Oh no.
Yeah. No, like, so the dude's name is Rob Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
And he's contracted to help build out this system. But of course, like you said, as the lead there, Atari hasn't paid him in 6 months, according to Wyatt. Quote, Atari haven't paid invoices going back over 6 months. As a small company, we've been lucky to survive this long. So basically, it's a long article.
Yeah.
But the gist of it is, apparently the people that are making the VCS have botched the development of this thing at every step of the way so far. Mainly because of a severe lack of funds,
mm-hmm.
and or a severe want to spend those funds. Apparently there's been a lot of penny pitching throughout both the development process, the research process, the construction process, the programming process, every process. And because of that, the VCS is basically turned into a box that is going to deliver on hardly any of the promises. I'm sorry, I know this surprises everyone who was watching that hot VCS news feed. It's probably not going to deliver on many of the promises that it was trying to make upon announcement a couple years. Oh, it was a couple years ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. So like, there's a very good like TLDR summation at the very end of this article where basically, the bullet points read: the VCS looks to be limited as a console, probably going to be a $250 PC and some wood paneling, and then it's basically, it boils down to basically being like a Linux server inside of something that looks like a futuristic guitar.
Yeah, from what everyone is saying, it doesn't sound like they have anybody lined up to put software on this machine, which, having a really fancy Linux box without any proprietary software is really gonna fucking sell in 2020, or, whenever it actually hits.
It's basically the Steam box, but without any of the Steam implementation on it, so it's just a box.
Yeah. Congratulations, you bought yourself a, fairly decent PC.
Yeah, I mean, because, like, apparently, like, no original game developers have signed on to make games for this thing yet. They have no native apps, so basically, like, if you want to run, like, stuff like Netflix, you're going to be doing that through a browser that is built into the infrastructure. And then this is the most, like, laughter-inducing thing I read. The controllers, which look like the original Atari controllers for the 2600, those are probably the one thing that people have been at least most celebrating about with this thing. And apparently those controllers might not even work with the majority of the games.
No, my favorite part is at the very end. Atari wishes to inform you that some of your questions indicate that you possess information that is incorrect and or outdated. In addition, some aspects of the Atari VCS project clearly have been leaked to you in violation of existing confidentiality agreements, and Atari therefore hereby reserves its rights in that respect.
why are you saying that to the publication who's running the journalistic outlet who is running an article on this? They have no reason to to live up to your fucking confidentiality agreements. Like,
yeah, they don't give a fuck about your confidentiality. Fuck off.
no. What the fuck? It's just so odd.
So, what I'm gathering through all of this
Mm-hmm.
is the Atari VCS project is the perfect blending of the initial launch of No Man's Sky combined with Duke Nukem Forever.
You're not far off.
It is going to be the greatest break of promise that has never been released.
The only difference is that both Duke Nukem Forever and No Man's Sky paid the majority of the people that helped make it. I only say that because I think I'm recollecting a lawsuit connected to Duke Nukem Forever where like maybe a composer was suing them for not being paid that we talked about.
It was the composer.
Yeah. So like outside of like maybe one dude, everybody got paid.
But that was for Duke Nukem 3D, not for Duke Nukem Forever.
Okay, then there you go. Then there you go. They at least like paid their people then.
Yeah.
Major difference. Fuck.
Alright, we're going to finish this show off by dropping into some Sony PlayStation news at the very end. Sean Layden is departing Sony as they are in the middle of restructuring, and it leaves a really weird power gap. This guy has been fairly big as far as Sony Interactive and Sony Worldwide Studios goes.
No, you're not wrong. Like Sean Layden was basically the face of Sony during its resurgence with the PlayStation 4, you know, and he's led that company to the point where they don't have to be at E3 anymore, or they feel that they don't have to be at E3 anymore. Like that's the heights. We're talking about a company who's like GameStop. You don't get to sell our digital shit anymore. Yank it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the kind of power. Like think about where Sony was at around like the midpoint towards like the end of the PlayStation 3 life cycle. Think about how far down the totem pole, like PSN credit card accounts like being leaked, like the PS3 launching at $500, like all of the missteps of that console cycle. And then look at where they are now. Like who would have ever thought that they would be at the height that they're at right now, but coming off of that?
Yeah, you know? And it was a quick turnaround too.
Yeah, like it was like almost night and day as soon as the PlayStation 4 hit.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that is because of Sean Layden's leadership at the top. So it was really honestly, I was personally really surprised to see this come out. Like I know that there's been a power struggle within Sony Interactive for a little while regarding the direction that the PlayStation should take. Especially as the PS5 is on the horizon. And a lot of that boils down to the man who is basically kind of taking over Sean Layden's spot. I can't remember his first name. I know his last name's Ryan. I want to say it's like Tim Ryan. That might be the dude who's president.
Yeah, that is a different Ryan. Jim Ryan.
Jim Ryan, there we go. I was one letter off. I'll take it.
Very close.
So, like, basically, like, Jim Ryan and Sean Layden both were, like, higher-ups within Sony, obviously. But, like, Jim Ryan and Sean Layden had very differing views on, like, what could push PlayStation to the next level in a lot of ways. I know Ryan was a big proponent, or still is a big proponent, of the PlayStation Now service. Which, now that Layden's out, that's why you're seeing a lot of advertising push for PlayStation Now. They recently dropped the price down to $9.99 a month. They the big marketing push is also focusing on the fact that they are adding some pretty heavy-hitting first-party games onto that service now. I know God of War, the new God of War is on there, Uncharted is on there. They've made a push to like sort of position themselves well in the on-demand / streaming market. I guess even like cloud market. I guess I've seen some people qualify PlayStation Now as a cloud service. It's not really a cloud service.
Not really.
It's like no, but like I get it. I get why it's being thrown in there. Um, but like that's why you're seeing that advertising push. It's nowhere near where even Xbox Game Pass is, much less what's I think even Stadia still has a head start on them, because PlayStation Now, like as much as they're willing to like push it right now and clearly have shown a commitment to double down on it after Layden's exit, it's still not a top-notch service when it comes to this sort of thing. It just doesn't stand up to other services in that way. That being said, it's vastly improved. I'll give it that. But apparently, PlayStation Now was one of the key things that led to this power struggle. I think Layden was very much also on the crossplay tip. He wanted to open up Sony to crossplay a lot quicker than other higher ups, including Ryan, did. And of course, we saw some of that happen with certain games. I know, like I want to say Fortnite, Rocket League, and I know it also recently was announced that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds was opened up for crossplay with PlayStation as well. So, like, they've definitely been moving towards opening that up more, but Layden saw that as the next big step for Sony, and obviously with his exit, it'll be curious to see what Ryan actually does on that front going forward, especially with the PlayStation 5 coming out, which I know we're about to get into, because that's the only other thing that we really have to get to this week.
Correct.
So I don't know. It's a real shame though too, because like think about how much love Reggie got from Nintendo, the company, and Nintendo's fans. Whenever he exited the company earlier this year, Sean Layden got a tweet.
Yeah, and it's not. I haven't really heard a whole lot of people going, "Oh, what a shame of Sean Layden, retiring from the company." It's been chirps and echoes, really.
Well, I mean, Sony as a company does not have the same whimsy as Nintendo does. They're not out there doing puppet shows on their Sony State of Plays.
Yeah.
Like they're just not the same company. They don't have the same mindset in that way. So obviously, I don't think you're going to get that kind of response. But the fact that Sean Layden, like, as much as we've made fun of him for some of the smug stuff that he's done on their like E3 presentations, where we've done our live streams with those, Sean Layden is a dude who deserves a lot of praise for bringing PlayStation to where it's at. A lot of first-party development improved underneath him. They added a lot of studios underneath him. His last major deal was the purchase of Insomniac, and that is one that's going to set up first-party development for the PlayStation for decades to come. In a lot of, because Insomniac does not do anything except hit home runs.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, Sunset Overdrive was standing. Home run in my heart.
Critical home run.
Exactly. So like, the dude did a lot for this company, and the fact that he left unceremoniously is very telling for what is going on within Sony. I think a lot of people were ready for him to get out, and a lot of the restructuring around the company in the wake of Layden's exit has also been telling of that. A lot of redundancies have been created. I know the same day that the PlayStation 5 was announced, a number of employees in Sony's Europe office were laid off because of some of the redundancies created by kind of just converging all of the different marketing sides of things into one office. So yeah, I am personally like, yeah, I'm sad to see Layden go in some ways, just because that's, in some ways he's the devil I know. In other ways, he did a lot for Sony. He did a lot of good for this company. So hats off to him.
yeah, hell of a job, Sean. And I recognize that he doesn't need some dude with a podcast that a couple people listen to, but hey, hell. It'll be a shame, but you know, life in Sony kind of goes on. It is more of a wheel rather than where at Nintendo, you know, it's a couple of big faces that you could list off the top of your head. At Sony, it's a bit more. Oh yeah, that one guy.
Yeah. The only other major thing to come out of this, really, that as Johnny touches on at the end of the article here, is that a lot of the restructuring and reorganization of the company, as well as a lot of the mixed messaging from the company, has really impacted a lot of third-party publishers and developers.
Mm.
Moving from, as we move into a transition from the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5, there have been some like basically there's a lot of small-time developers that really don't necessarily understand what the infrastructure is going to look like, and they don't really. There's been a lot of they've been dragging their feet on some of these things for companies that are looking to develop for the PlayStation 5 to get ready to do that, and because there's been so much focus on just getting the company in the right place. So I don't. That could be a telling sign. That could be just a small thing that they correct pretty easily. I don't know.
All right, our last bit of news, and we kind of, you know, lampshade a little bit here, but Sony itself has finally come out in the most boring way and putting out a blog post. The PlayStation 5 is now legit. It is the PlayStation 5. So that's good. But updating from that, they'll be putting it out officially with ray tracing, haptic feedback within your controller, sort of similar to what the Switch does. So you get better rumble when you're playing your game.
Rumble.
Heck yeah. And adaptive triggering in your shoulder buttons. So when you're pressing down, you can get a more tactile sensation, right? It's different presses potentially for your L2 R2. So the blog post makes mention of the sensation of drawing a bow and arrow or accelerating an off-road vehicle through rocky terrain, whatever the fuck that means, in far as pushing a button.
I am sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, please.
Oh no, I was just saying I'm very curious about the infrastructure thing.
I have a little bit of insight into that.
Okay.
I had found a post with their storage. They are doing all sorts of ridiculousness. I'm going to see if I can find the article really quick because I don't want to misquote anything.
There was a Wired story about it. I don't know if that's what the one you're talking about.
Yeah, it was when they officially announced that they were coming out, there was a big spread in Wired.
Mm-hmm.
This one's actually from Ars Technica.
Oh, okay. That even better, honestly.
Mm.
Which quoted a lot of the stuff from Wired. So basically what they're doing is they're doing SSDs for their storage. Pointing out that game developers often duplicate data at multiple points on a disk or in a hard drive installation in order to make it easily accessible on traditional drives. So in one example, an art asset that occurs repeatedly through an open world city might be stored hundreds of times on the hard drive so it can be quickly loaded from any point in the game. The new storage solution would allow players or developers to end that practice. They've also mentioned that the way they're implementing the SSDs means that players will be able to jump into specific points in a game really quickly. And they're doing a dynamic home screen that gives you game information from the home screen. So, like, say you were playing Fallout 4 and you wanted to launch the game directly, wanted to pick one specific quest to work on, you could actually, from the home screen, launch the game into that quest without having to go through everything else to get there. And they also said they'll make it possible for developers to identify specific chunks of a game that can be installed or removed as needed. So, for instance, you could delete just the single player mode from your drive to free up space if you're done playing it, but you want to keep playing multiplayer.
Yeah, that is. I've read the same thing. It's I believe a 1 terabyte SSD, which fairly robust, but may need to be honestly upgraded over the years, considering that a game now can run you 250 gigabytes alone for a single game.
Yeah, I've seen reports of the new Call of Duty basically being close to like 170 gigs for the PC install. So like, yeah, if that 1 terabyte, that's going to be nothing.
So
very
basically,
quickly.
RDR2 took up nearly 100 gigs. Elder Scrolls Online is even larger, and the PlayStation 5 will use 100 gigabyte optical discs, and will support a 4K Blu-ray disc format as well. So I'm kind of excited.
Yeah, I'm good with everything that I've heard about the PlayStation 5 so far. Clearly, we still have a whole lot of time, considering we're talking at least a year before it comes out for both the PlayStation and the Xbox. We're looking at holiday 2020. My favorite thing in response to this was Microsoft saying, "What do you think we should name our new console?" My favorite response had to be PlayStation 6. It's
too good.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Though, you know, some points for the response, name it the Nintendo GameCube.
Don't besmirch the good name of the Nintendo GameCube. Fuck y'all.
Well, I mean, the Nintendo PlayStation did technically exist.
True.
It's very true. Very true. No, that's... I'm curious about the SSD stuff. Like, a lot of that, especially the way that the hard drive interacts with the home screen, like you're talking about, and the games interact with the home screen like that, that could be... I mean, we all saw the demo with that they ran in the previous Wired article in the closed session, where you saw the Spider-Man game with basically no loading screen. I wonder if like that sort of thing is also kind of ties into what they're referring to in terms of like booting into sequences of games almost instantaneously. I think like if you're able to build something out that's able to basically eliminate loading screens, like that would be the perfect logical way to kind of build that into the system.
Yeah, another example they gave, I'm just going to get back to that really quick, was like, say from the home screen, because you get all of that dynamic information about your game, you're playing, where was it? There we go. So say you're playing Call of Duty and you see that there's a double XP event for the Nuketown map. Right from the home screen, you can launch into a Nuketown match without having to go through all of the menus.
Nice.
That is so enticing. That just makes me feel good on the inside and the outside. Just to think that I could just bypass so many menus.
Right? And with the Spider-Man thing, they actually finally gave us actual numbers. Average fast travel time from point to point within Spider-Man is about 19 seconds. They brought it down to less than 1.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Jesus Christ.
All right. Well, everyone, this has been our Mr. Video Game live super show for Wednesday, October the 9th, 2019. But as always, we end the show by bringing you Mr. Video Games. It is something, somebody, someplace, some whatever that has done something so amazing, so stupid, so perfect, that you can only look at it and go, that is video games. And today's winner is... Honk! Wait, nope.
Honk.
Hyonk hyonk and goose!
It is YouTuber Tarak JK, who has spent 2 hours of his life going through the Untitled Goose Game and turning it into Donut County and putting all of the stuff from the game into a hole. All of it.
Honk.
He had to go back and get 2 items, but he got every single item from the entire game and just kind of brought it back to his goose hole.
This is why I love this game. Yes, the puzzle solving can be frustrating at times, but Jesus Christ, can you just do the dumbest meta stuff in this thing?
Well, and I mean, I learned something about this game the other day because I watched play through it, and then we finished the credits, and then we realized there's another to-do list.
Oh yeah, it doesn't get you any further or, you know, unlock any new things. It's just, hey, here's some other things we think it could be fun for you to go do. Go hang out and do these if you want to.
Yes, I also love the secret to-do list. Those are always fun to find out. Oh yeah, like there's certain things within each like environment that aren't listed on the to-do list, but you can still do them. And then if you do them, it pops up with a to-do list that's all question marks, and then it reveals like that you did something and crosses it off.
Brian, you and I are gonna have to talk later.
So, yeah, did miss out on a few items, broke some things, some items he didn't realize he didn't get. But, you know, if you're just missing 2 items from the entire town, I'm still going to put that as a win.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, breaking some items, that's really easy. Fuck those pint glasses.
You're not wrong.
I'm just amazed that they were able to get the soccer ball out of the pond like that. That is the one item that I found to be like the most frustrating to try and maneuver anywhere.
And just grab everything from the makeshift town. Everything.
Yes! Destruction!
Kleptomaniac goose!
God, I love this game.
I don't know how you have the patience, but hell of a job, sir.
This looks like something I'm gonna end up doing at some point. Because I can.
It's a rainy day, pour yourself a glass of Shiraz, and just dump everything into your goose hole.
Glass of Shiraz? What is this glass of which you speak? Bottles or bust, bro.
Boom.
Alright. Well, we have been Mr. Video Game Live Super Show for Wednesday, October 9th, 2019. Of course, everything good has to end at some point. So, Lindsay, any final words this evening?
In light of all of the rage-inducing stuff we have talked about today, now more than ever, be fucking kind. Love each other. Cause like, just be a decent human being.
Agreed.
Brian, any final words this evening?
Well, I will keep my self-promotion to a small extent here. If you want to read more about my experience at the Overwatch League Grand Finals, you can check out that article over at pacemagazine.com/games. Also read more of my writings. Done a lot of stuff on both LGBTQ pro wrestling as well as some stuff around the Supreme Court hearings about LGBTQ protections that have been going on this week over at outsports.com. And I will say all of that. I'll even put my Twitter out there at WonderboyOTM. Follow me. Also, the LGBT in the Ring, the LGBTQ Pro Wrestling podcast that I am doing in cooperation with Outsports and Vox, will be starting up pretty soon. More details to come on that. But I say all that because I wanted to get to my own personal Mr. Video Games for this week, because it blends video games and wrestling in the best way possible. Mr. Leroy Green, a notable independent pro wrestler in the Northeast. We're talking. This dude is awesome because he has brought his Nintendo Switch into his wrestling act. He plays his Nintendo Switch while wrestling.
What the hell?
That does not seem conducive to keeping your Nintendo Switch in one piece.
You know?
He incorporates it into spots in the best way. Like literally, he plays Smash Brothers while the person he's fighting is trying to be like, what are you doing? Like, we're in a match. Like, fight me. He's like, nah, dude, I'm playing. And he does like wrestling spots while holding onto his Switch while playing it, and like it's really fun. Actually, especially in like terms of modern independent pro wrestling, where a lot of stuff has just gone to the absurd in a lot of ways. Orange Cassidy, I think, is a very large influence on this dude, from what I've seen. So, like, just shout out to Leroy Green, and I really hope that you do not break your Switch while giving Hurricane Ranas. But yeah, I just wanted to shout him out after I got all of my shameless self-promotion out of the way.
All right. Thanks everyone for coming out tonight. Of course, Playwatch for speaking up in chat. Everyone, all of you lovely lurkers who have hung out today, thank you all for coming. As always, have a good night and a pleasant tomorrow.